Hi everybody, welcome back to Fiction Technician. If my background looks a little different today, that's because I am on location at my sister's house, and you might hear her baby crying downstairs. Right now, she and her au pair are taking care of my 4 kids and her 3 kids, and I am doing the same for her in the morning so she can work. So it is a hard working week around here, but I wanted to take a moment to update you on Murder Mr. Hamilton, my rapid release cozy mystery, and tell you what I'm doing to write this book quickly for rapid release and a particular strategy I found for writing high conflict scenes quickly. I'm Jane, and this is Fiction Technician. So first, I want to tell you about how I'm structuring my work for this project so that I can get it done quickly. I've broken it into 3 chunks, and each one is going to be 8 to 10,000 words. And chunk 1 has gone through a few stages. It's been written, I've gotten comments on it from my writing group, and I've made revision notes for it, so I know what I'll be changing in the future. Right now, I'm working on chunk 2, and I'm writing that as if I had already done those revisions to chunk 1. So it'll be, once I get those revisions done, they'll be all meshed together. And it's going pretty well, so I'm hoping that chunk 2 and maybe a good section of chunk 3 will get written this week while I'm at my sister's. So this project is a pretty ambitious one for me. I'm really trying to get an entire novella out in 6 weeks for a July 3rd release. And if you'd like to know why that date is so important to me, you can check out my previous video introducing the project. I'll link that in the description below. So there are 2 things that we all do when we're writing. Composition, which is arranging words, figuring out how to express things, and invention, which is figuring out what the story is and all the little details of it. And my broad strategy for writing this book quickly is to separate those as much as possible. I am a plotter, and so I do a decent amount of invention ahead of time. I figure out what the overall plot is, what needs to happen in each scene before I start writing it, but there's still a lot of invention that I do on the fly. What are the lines of dialogue? What are the responses? What are the names of walk-on characters we're going to meet in this scene? And doing those things together, the composition and the invention at the same time, feels very natural and is sort of organic and my preferred way to work. But I have to admit that doing them together means that they both need to happen in my most dedicated writing time. So I did a video a while back called The Mother Method, where I talked about separating out the tasks that take a lot of concentration, a lot of, flow time, a lot of really effortful work, and doing those when you have solitude, a good chunk of time, and then taking those other tasks like perhaps character creation or research and offloading them to a different time. For example, I have a lot of kids, and so sometimes I'll do some research while I'm at the park with them. I'll just listen to it on my headphones, and this lets me get more done because my writing time, my dedicated time, is solely for those tasks that are really difficult and require a lot of concentration. So what I'm trying to do to amp that up this time is just offload more of the invention to other times. I'm going to show you this bullet journal spread that I made to kind of try and plot out my scenes a little bit. I'll probably show you this in more detail later, but I'm still trying to figure out exactly what should go over here by trial and error, kind of what are the most helpful things for me to plan out ahead of time. But here in the middle, I've got what I call my invention list, and essentially while I'm plotting the scene, I will figure out what sort of things do I need to invent to make this scene work. The names of those characters, the details of the setting, and I'll try to front load the scene by figuring all that ahead of time. And then I'll keep the invention list going while I'm writing. Maybe I get into the middle of the writing and it's going well and I don't really want to slow myself down to do a little bit of research and invention. I'll just write it on the list and I'll try and look at that later this evening, and once I've had some time to invent it, I'll plug it into the scene, but I'm not slowing down and I'm not taking writing time to use for a lesser task. I don't know, lesser task is not really the right word, but you know, a task that could be done later. I just have, especially since quarantine, I have such limited writing time that I really need to be focused on the top mentally demanding efforts. And then here on the other side, we've got a little grid that I made up after I learned about a great strategy for writing high conflict scenes. I learned about this from my friend Maury, who's in my writing group. So I was talking about how I needed to write a scene where my protagonist, Lucy, and Alexander Hamilton come into conflict for the first time. And I really wanted them both to come off well in the scene, to both have agency and to be clever, and for neither of them really to seem totally bested by the other. And I wasn't sure how to approach it. And my friend Maury, and I was complaining that I really needed to figure out a way to write this scene. And so my friend Maury told me about this strategy that he uses to write really tight scenes in his plays. So let's take a look at the graph again. So I've got my characters up here, and down here is their goal for the scene. So in this scene, Lucy's goal is going to be to get Hamilton to let her stay at his house. She's living in 1801, she doesn't have any money, she doesn't have any place to stay, and she really needs one. And Hamilton's goal is to find out more about her. She's come home with his son, she's an unattached woman who talks strange and is really kind of cagey about her family connections, and he wants to know what's up with her. So then we have 3 strategies that they move forward while trying to achieve that goal. Hamilton's strategy 1 is going to be direct questioning, because he's a 49-year-old man in 1801, and frankly, he expects a young woman to bow to his authority, to understand that he's her social superior and that she needs his direction. But Lucy is not a young woman of 1801, and so she's not going to accept his authority so readily. And her strategy, her number 1 strategy is evade, evade, evade. Don't answer direct questions, you know, don't talk about this whole time travel thing. Just try to seem like a nice, normal girl. So then Hamilton will move into strategy number 2, which is using tricks and traps to try to get her to reveal more than she really intends. And Lucy will pick up on what he's doing, and she's going to move into her strategy 2, which is distract. And she's going to do that by insulting the current president of the United States, who happens to be Hamilton's nemesis, Thomas Jefferson. And this will momentarily work, but then Hamilton's going to see what's going on with her, and he's going to get right back to trying to trap her into giving out more information. And so Lucy will move into her 3rd strategy, which is to tell him a little bit of the truth. Not everything that's going on, certainly not the time travel, but just enough to form a connection with him and make him feel like he wants to help her. And then Hamilton will move into his last strategy, which is to agree but to place a condition on it, which is that as long as she's living under his roof, she's going to live by his rules. And that means she will live as a daughter of the Hamilton household. She won't go anywhere unaccompanied. She needs to go somewhere with his son or his eldest daughter or his wife. And this is not what Lucy has in mind, because she has important things that need doing, but she will accept. So as I was writing this scene, actually a lot of things changed as I figured out how they were going to approach these strategies and exactly what good lines of dialogue I might sneak in there to kind of turn things around. But even so, having these strategies to write toward made the writing of this scene so much quicker, and I think it really made it a lot tighter as well. So huge props to my friend Maury for this amazing tip. It was exactly what I needed, and I hope that it can help you too while you're working on writing really tight conflict scenes. Check out.